Hello, this is Christina. I'd just like to share for a couple of moments. I've written some notes, so when I look away, look down, I'm just referring to my notes. So today I'd like to talk about a particular word. This particular word has a lot of connotations attached to it. And whenever I've heard this word over my life, I guess especially over my adult life, I've had mixed feelings about it. But it is a word that I have had to kind of work out where I'm going to place it in my world. I'm still working that out. I have worked on how I feel about this word, and I'm still in the process. The word is autism. I feel that many people immediately conjure up certain images and maybe beliefs when they hear this word autism. It is just a 6-letter word. And yet, for better or for worse, I find it no longer possible to separate myself personally from this word. And as best I can tell, if a current definition, modern definition, is applied to this word, it certainly does apply to me. So I would say, and I am saying, that I have an autistic brain, that I always have had an autistic brain. I now recognize that. Semantically, that makes me an autistic person. My understanding is that I have a brain that has different wiring, hardwiring, to the average neurotypical or non-autistic brain. Very basically, the way a Macintosh computer and a Windows computer, they're hardwired differently. They don't respond to the same demands or commands. It's necessary to learn a different set of operating instructions if you're going to switch from one to the other. If you've always had a Windows style system and you decide to change over to a Mac system. So that's a very general analogy, and yet I find it quite helpful to explain the way that I process information, the way my brain processes information, and the way my nervous system processes information is different, considerably different to the way that a neurotypical brain processes the same information. What makes it interesting is that because of a particular skill or ability or learned behavior known as masking, because of something called masking, I've been able, in quite a lot of ways, I've been able to find ways to make it look like I fit into this neurotypical world around me and blending in, sometimes even convincing myself. And yet I have come to realize, to the point where it is undeniable to me, that the way I relate to people and the world around me, the way the world around me affects me, is quite different. And as I get older, I am less and less able to do this thing called masking in the virtuosic way that I used to do it when I was younger, leaving me no choice essentially but to revert to type more often than not. As operating the way I used to in the world is just no longer working for me at all. It actually hasn't really worked for a long time. But it is now a necessary choice for me to make changes in my life to help my autistic brain, to not fight against my autistic brain, to not fight against the hardwiring of my brain and nervous system, so that I can cope with this world, find gentler ways to exist in this world. So, autism is just a word, but it's an important word. There's similar words that are out there. There's neurodivergent and Asperger's have quite a lot of similarities. They don't 100% overlap, but they're useful words to understand as well. So the way that I relate to myself and to God and to others and to the world, these are all things that I am learning, I guess, to do differently, in a sense reverting to type, if that makes sense. In the process of accepting this diagnosis of autism, it's something that I guess I accept as a self-diagnosis. I look at it all. I've looked at it all very in depth, and it aligns with me. And also, professionals who work with autistic people have also diagnosed me with autism. So there's a pretty strong case. So, in the process of accepting this particular word, this diagnosis, this way of being, I guess I do see autism in some ways to be a disability. There are a number of things that are really hard for me to do, that in general the general human population does not find these things hard. And there are members of the autistic community who it's common for members of the autistic community to find these things hard to different degrees. I also see a person who is autistic as a person that has different strengths, different perspectives to offer, different abilities to bring to the world. So that's my thoughts for today. Thank you for listening. Bye.